For those with a serious or terminal illness or disability, Canadian courts, lawmakers, and culture say there are only two options: a slow, painful death or a quick, easy, assisted suicide. But there is a third option. Join us as we investigate the palliative care alternative and why Canadians should be choosing it. Our exploration of palliative care has taken us all over Southern Ontario, speaking with beneficiaries of palliative care and with various providers. We now travel across the country to Chilliwack, British Columbia, where we sit down with Dr. Neil Hilliard, a palliative care physician.
Palliative care, in just a few words, is living well until you die. But a lot of people have a misperception about palliative care, both individuals and care professionals, in that it's just for people at the end of life, in the last weeks or last months. And actually, palliative care is much more than that. The WHO definition of palliative care says it's an approach to improve the quality of living for patients and families that are experiencing a life-threatening illness. And also, it works through prevention and relief of suffering through impeccable assessment of symptoms and treatment of pain and other problems, physical, psychosocial, and spiritual. So the definition is talking about improving the quality of living. It's not even talking about dying. And it's talking about prevention as well as relief of suffering, so early on as well as at the end. And it's talking about the whole person. So we're talking about physical, psychosocial, and spiritual. And so it's person-centered. And by its nature, to be able to support the whole person, it's team-based. Palliative care, by definition, does not intend to extend or shorten a person's life. And so, by definition, there's no place for medical assistance in dying or physician-hastened death in palliative care. And I think there is a stigma of palliative care. The stigma is that if I'm referred to palliative care, that's it for me, and there's no hope, and they're giving up on me. And palliative care is not like that.
Our conversation shifted from the many and remarkable benefits of palliative care and the need for it to the new reality that euthanasia is now legal. We asked Dr. Hilliard how he would respond to a request for assisted suicide.
First of all, I would want to know a little bit about that request. So I would want to know, are you just been thinking about it? Has it been a thought that's run through your mind, or is this actually a wish that you want to end your life, or if you actually made a plan to end your life and how you would do it? And then I'd explore why. Is this because you're afraid that you're going to die in a lot of pain or drowning in secretions or really short of breath? For example, we had one lady that had chronic obstructive lung disease and already had shortness of breath and was thinking, well, if I have this now, what's it going to be like when I die? I don't want to have a horrible death. I don't want my kids to see me have a horrible death. But we could reassure her, that we have the tools to treat your pain, your shortness of breath. 95% of the time we can do that, and for the other 5% where we wouldn't be able to fully treat it, we have available palliative sedation. That's usually only the last hours or days. And she was reassured, and her request to have medical assistance in dying went away, and she did die peacefully in hospice. I would want to know if they feel like they're a burden on their family. And so we had a lady in hospice that when we asked why she wanted to end her life, that's exactly what she said. She felt like she was a burden on her children. And the children, when they found this out, they reassured their mother that no, this wasn't the case, and that they really valued her and all that she'd done for them when they were younger. And she was reassured. The request went away, and she died peacefully, actually several days later. Or is it because they don't have access to the resources they need? Again, a case of somebody that was in intractable pain and suffering and was basically immobile in bed and wasn't able to get out and didn't feel life was worth living. Patient with spinal stenosis, similar to Kay Carter. It's not a life-threatening condition, but she was elderly, and she wasn't able to access the proper pain control. Spinal stenosis is where the vertebrae in your lower back have overgrown and are compressing the nerve roots that exit from your spinal cord. And so it's actually a very severe nerve pain. It's a burning pain that's really intolerable. And so she was actually having excruciating suffering, but the problem is there was a good treatment for it that she wasn't accessing. And so that we that do palliative care know that methadone is a really good treatment for that type of nerve pain. And so she was started on methadone, and her pain was, it was remarkably better. She was also depressed, which hadn't been picked up, and so she was started on an antidepressant, one that is an adjuvant for nerve pain. And between the two of them, she is now happy, and she's up walking, and she's socializing, and the request, of course, went away. I think there's a danger that the response will be just to go ahead and accept that their request for medical assistance in dying is perfectly legitimate and offer it. But the question is, did they really have a choice, first of all? So this patient that wasn't getting the methadone treatment, did she really have a choice? She hadn't been offered the methadone treatment. It requires a special license to prescribe, so not all doctors can prescribe it. So the first question is, did she really have a choice? The second question, was it an informed choice? Did she know that there were other options out there? So I think people are saying they want choice, but they want informed choice. So I think the knee-jerk response can be, well, they're asking for it, so we'll get two witnesses and we'll start the process. But really, we should be asking some questions: why, and do they have effective access to palliative care and timely access to palliative care? And even better yet, if they had timely access to palliative care upstream, they wouldn't have made the request in the first place. As a Christian, we look to the example of the Lord Jesus Christ and the compassion that he showed for people, when he was on earth, healing and relief of suffering. And so I think that's what I, as a physician, am called to do, is to relieve suffering and to help people to know what their illness is and what the prognosis is and what to expect and what sort of treatments can be helpful, and to provide impeccable pain and symptom management and to provide those supports. The founder of palliative care, Dr. Cicely Saunders, and the hospice movement in Great Britain, I think she has a great quote, and that is that you matter because you're you, and you matter to the moment at the end of your life. And we'll do everything that we can, not only to help you die peacefully, but to improve the quality of your life until you die.